Your tax number. Now you get the tax number on the day itself when your company is set up. So it's very important for us to understand that these are very, very important changes. I mean, the company incorporation timeline have been reduced from 12 weeks to almost 8 weeks now. The visa process for foreign expats to work in India, Social Security claims are going online, so which we call in India as a provident fund. So there has been welcome change in terms of improving the possibilities of getting the provident fund out, like Social Security, out from the local authorities into the employee's bank account. They are making everything online. Supreme Court of India have turned into paperless now, which is a big change, and we are now seeing that very soon, or at least if the paperless in Supreme Court goes very well, it will roll out to high courts, which will reduce in terms of so many court cases which are pending in Indian courts. It will help us or help other organizations and many of us who are working in India for a legal process to be more strengthened. There has been welcome change in the higher education sector. So we have two specific bodies which control the registration of universities and technical colleges, so University Grant Commission and AICTE. And there has been talks, and government is working very closely in terms of combining the body and just striking of both the bodies and create one specific body, which control all the education, entry and exit and registration and getting more universities on the board, so that there should not be any conflict between various other authorities who are operating in the education sector. And we are now thinking to align our financial year with the global standard. So as of now, India works on a financial year which is April to March. Almost 3 years back, when we had the old company law, there was an option for the foreign businesses to choose any 12 months period under company law. But once we got this new company law in 2013, now each and every company who's setting up in India, they have to have a April to March financial year. And what I'm saying, the government of India is working towards streamlining this specific financial year with global standards, so that the global companies, foreign companies, when they come and set up, they can have Indian subsidiaries allied to their foreign holding companies. So all these are very, very welcome change in terms of ease of doing business in India. Let me specifically cover one of the very big change which is going on in India from last number of years. The Parliament is working towards the corporate sector, the bank, everybody in India. They are working towards getting the goods and service tax rollout, and it looks highly likely now that it will be rolled out from 1st of July, from next month. Our finance minister is really keen to roll it out from next month. However, we do hear that the banks in India are not yet ready, so we still do the wait and watch, but it looks really highly likely that it will be rolled out from next month. And they have come up with many rules, acts, and for frequently asked questions to analyze that what should be the impact of goods and service tax in India. And it's nothing but a combination of various tax, and now India is trying to come up with this goods and service tax, which is in line with global tax or global countries, where if you go to Singapore or if you go to any other robust jurisdiction where you find one tax for manufacturing, for selling, and for services. Whereas in India, we were having 3 different taxes, and of course many other tax. But we had a excise duty, which was on manufacturing. We have service tax, which is on services, and we have sales tax or VAT, which was on sale of goods. So India is now coming up with one combined tax called goods and service tax, which will replace or combine all these taxes, and we can claim a credit of one specific goods sold or goods received against a service, which was earlier not possible. So it's definitely a game changer for India. I mean, many of the economists are thinking that it will definitely hit even India GDP by almost increase it by 1%. So the 7% or 6.8%, which Michael and me were just talking about, it can go by 7 to 8% just because of the GST implementation. We are just hopeful that the implementation should go well. It's a very, very welcome change. It's a specific tax which has been now multi-layered in terms of benefits to businesses, industry, and governments and consumers. There are over-reduction in prices. Initially, for 1 to 2 years, there could be increase in prices because of GST, because states have their own say, and as we know currently, there are dual structure, so with powers of levy and regulation to both federal and the state level. But it's a long-term economic growth. I mean, we are looking at positive reorganization of business in India. We're looking at long-term play. Within 2 to 3 years, we will see that this GST is coming up with so many positive changes and welcome changes for India. And we are hopeful that the implementation should go well. The online platform which the government has now, the customer care creation which they have done, a number of other portals which they have been created just primarily to look into the GST implementation should go well. Very recently, in last 2-3 weeks, we have seen even the tax rate have also been announced, and they have been announced within the range of 0 to 28%. And there are fixed rates in different brackets like 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%, plus something on the extra luxury, which is even more than 28%. And these tax rates have been announced as per the goods, so some of them are exempt, like 0%, which are basic necessity, and then it goes up to different levels. So if you are having already Indian companies, Indian subsidiaries, or Indian business of yours, and you are providing services, you are in a service industry, then you will fall into 18% category, for example. And if you're selling some sort of goods, then you would need to look into that which of the category your goods are falling into, and you need to get yourself ready for your GST implementation. And I'm sure your Indian team would be working towards already thinking about how do we implement, how do we modify our online platform and other various compliances, because this specific goods and service tax is definitely contributing towards ease of doing business in India, and also marking India as a global business destination. So I think I can stop here. And Michael, over to you. I'm happy to have further questions on this.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kapil. And welcome everybody to share any questions that you might have on the main chat. But moving, we'll move through the presentation, and then again, if there are questions, we'll open up for that. In terms of what's next, I think for the participants on the line, it really kind of depends what perspective you're coming from. So if you're a seasoned organization or business, this GST development, I'm sure, is already on your radar, and you're working closely with your local teams to see what it means for your company and business. As Kapil said, a lot of the final details are coming out day by day in the lead up for the implementation in early July. So that's something I know those here continue to follow, and as July comes around, those implementation will go in place. I think implementation will also take some time, and there will be growing pains, but all in all, creating a single market for India is going to be a major development. For those who are just getting started, leverage ready-made platforms from your various governments. So whether it's from the UK, from Canada, from Japan and JETRO, or from the U.S. perspective, the U.S. Department of Commerce, make sure you're engaging with these local governmental bodies, since they typically will have lots of information about these markets, and in some cases can underwrite initial efforts to visit the market or do some initial market research to understand if the market is a good fit for your product or service. Plan a trip. I think this is essential to understanding what the Indian market can mean for your organization or business. Coming in to test the various assumptions that you might have before touching down here is really important. And you know, India, a lot of people describe it as the I guess land of contradictions. So a lot of various insights, you know, the opposite can also sometimes be true. So it's important that you're looking at it through your own lens. The last part is, you know, find a partner, whether it's a JV partner, find somebody who can be your eyes and ears on the ground to be able to ensure that all of the various different obstacles that exist when entering any market, whether it's India or elsewhere, are kind of looked after and taken care of. I think one thing I'd like to flag before we open it up to questions is just from the U.S. perspective. Last year, Sanam S4 launched the U.S. Business Centers Initiative, and this platform was specifically created mainly for, you know, mid-market U.S. companies that are looking for an end-to-end platform to be able to support their local needs in the market. We did so alongside US IBC, Citibank, JLL, Taj Hotels, Resorts and Palaces, and with our network of partners are able to support the market entry of you know, NGOs, to higher education institutions, to FTSE 100, Fortune 500 companies. So the process that we run through includes market research, but all the way through entity formation, setting up bank accounts, setting up employee handbooks, and looking at entry from a HR perspective, accounting, payroll. So what many small, medium-sized businesses face when they're entering new markets is managing all of these various operational challenges that exist when you open a new company. And the U.S. Business Centers, kind of powered by Sanam S4 services, are able to provide that end-to-end support so that the companies and organizations can focus on their core objectives in the market, whether that's selling into the market, building a brand, so that all of the kind of back-end payroll, accounting, compliance, and other issues are taken care of. So with that, maybe I'll stop, and Nivi, maybe if I can circle back to you to just provide, I guess, an overview of the upcoming visit of Prime Minister Modi. Anything that you can share for those who are dialing in from the U.S. and might be interested to hear what may or may not be on the agenda, or what folks are talking about in terms of expectations out of the visit. Nivedita, are you there? Okay, so I'll turn it over to, I'll ask a question from Kapil. Kapil, in terms of, from a new market entrant standpoint, what are some of the most frequently asked questions you receive from new market entrants? I think one of the things that I hear a lot is, and that we do at Sanam S4 is managing expectations in terms of timelines. So what are some of the most frequently asked questions you receive from your clients?
Yes, absolutely, Michael. The most important questions would be around that timeline, that if I'm setting up a company, for example, which will be my wholly owned subsidiary in India, which could be a, say, profit-making company, so how much time it will take in India. As per now, we are talking about the companies can be registered in India on a one-day route, like single-day company incorporation. So honestly speaking, when we are talking about setting up Indian companies or subsidiaries which are owned by foreign shareholders and foreign director on their board, it does take almost 8 to 10 weeks to get the company fully registered in India, primarily because it takes time to get the paperwork from the foreign shareholders and director. And most often than not, all these paperwork needs to be signed by the Indian High Commission in the home country of shareholders or directors. So that is why it does take time to prepare all the paperwork and then send it to the Indian High Commission, get them stamped from them, notarize those paperwork, including the personal documents of the directors who are foreign directors, or getting their director identification numbers. So in a summary, it does take almost 8 to 10 weeks to set up a company which is foreign having a company or shareholder overseas. Most important and frequent question which we get is how do I get money in and out of India? Is it easier to invest or is it easier to take money out? So definitely it is easier to transfer money in than taking out. And India do have a strict regulation in terms of any money funds going out of India. And there are various documentation and paper processes. So for example, one of the difficult process or difficult route we have for trying to take money out, or when any Indian company, Indian individual, they have to make payment to anybody overseas, like out of India, the paperwork has to be, the physical paperwork goes to the Indian banker. So you cannot make an online payment sitting at your laptop for so there has to be a documentation, there has to be a specific certificate taken from the Indian CPA that there are no taxes dues. At least when an Indian company is transferring payments, there has to be filled up those forms which needs to go online with the tax authorities, and also a lot of documentation, Form A2 and others need to be submitted to the Indian banker of the Indian company, so that the Indian banker can transfer those payments from the Indian bank account to the foreign bank account. So it's not easy to take money out from India. However, it can be well planned and well thought through, so that it should not take more than 2-3 days or even a week to take payment out. If you have well planned in advance that, okay, this is a specific payment, whether it is going for royalties or technical know-how or dividends, for example, and you can well think in advance and make those payments.
Thank you, Kapil. And I think we have Nivedita back on the line. So, Nivi, the question I had for you was about Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit to the U.S. and any expectations coming from that visit, or what USIBC knows in terms of the schedule or anything else that you can share.
Sure, Michael. So I think the expectations for this visit are purposely being kept fairly minimal. it's being treated as a visit for the Prime Minister to build a personal rapport and relationship with President Trump. Not much on the table per se in terms of deals and transactions. And I think that's being done purposefully because there's a sense that India and the U.S. share a relationship that goes much beyond deals and transactions. There's a cultural, ties and connects the two largest and oldest democracies. So the focus of this visit will really be beyond transactions, and that's sort of what the Indian side wants to stress on with the president. The geopolitical relationship, definitely, which is a strength and centerpiece of this relationship at this moment in time, will be one of the key focus areas of the visit. We expect the major defense partnership, which the Congress passed a few months ago. We expect more pieces to fall under that, so that might be defined more in terms of what that really means. We expect the defense relationship to grow. There's a sense that make in India does not mean do not make in the U.S. I think the understanding that both are complementary and jobs growth in one country will lead to jobs growth in the other country. So I think all of these are sort of key pillars that will be stressed during this visit and focused upon. In terms of the schedule, there'll be some interaction with the U.S. business community by the Prime Minister. We're still awaiting final details on what the White House will host in terms of a meeting and the structure of that. Something that has also been looked at is whether or not the numerous dialogues the U.S. and India have between the two countries, the bilateral dialogues, would those be streamlined as being the case with the Chinese dialogues? The commercial and the strategic dialogue in the Chinese case was split. In the Indian case, again, the commercial and the strategic dialogue occurs together. But apart from that, there are 30 or 40 other dialogues which occur. So if there's any scope of streamlining and aligning on a lot of those dialogues just to make them more impactful, I think that's something which is under consideration.
Thank you, Nibby. Some of the questions that we've been receiving is whether or not we'll be sharing the presentations. And yes, after the call, for all of the participants that have joined us and those that have registered will receive the PowerPoints from both Sun MS4 and USIBC. I think in terms of any other questions, I don't see any others coming through. So, Kapil, I don't know if you have any final points to make, but I'm happy to kind of close things, and I think we covered a lot of ground, both from a high-level perspective, some of the major initiatives that are ongoing here in India that organizations can plug into, all the way through to some of the most recent and technical developments on GST. So, Kapil, over to you for any last words, and then Nibby for you as well, and then I'll close.
Yes, thank you, Michael. My final word would be that GST is coming, and do prepare yourself and be ready for it. Even if you don't have currently India presence, you're thinking about India presence or setting up in India, or you have even a vendor or a customer in India, GST will definitely affect you. However, this is working towards ease of doing business in India. And you will see India in next 1, 2, 3 years will rise towards one of the best destinations in the world to set up your business and make yourself more profitable in terms of having global expansion of your business. That's from my side, Michael.
Thanks, Kapil. Nivedita, over to you.
Thanks, Michael. I think, from a USIBC perspective, our board, all our members are extremely bullish about India, very excited about the opportunity. Of course, challenges do come along the way, but I think for the most part, the government has been extremely proactive in trying to resolve the challenges which can be resolved. That being said, obviously there continue to be certain issues in a in a market which is growing as fast as India is. So be prepared for some of those. But overall, the timing could not be better if you're looking to get into India. So I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for joining. Again, we will be following up with all of this information, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have about the Indian market and where you're at in your journey with the subcontinent. So with that, I'll close and wish everybody a good afternoon in Europe, a good morning in the U.S., and good evening for those who have joined us from Asia. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.